Okay, we're going to take a quick look today at adding music tracks to your Final Cut projects, and it's a pretty simple process. What you want to do is just to make sure that you're putting them on the right tracks and not wrecking any of your other good audio that you've properly set up. So we're going to leave channel 1 and channel 2 just as they are. Channel 1 again for your main audio, channel 2 for your background audio, and where the music is going to go is down here on channel 3 and 4 of the audio. So track 3 and 4 of your audio selection down here. So what you want to do is bring in the music first. Hopefully you've downloaded something royalty free that you can use. And what you want to do is you can try and drag and drop stuff onto the browser, but you may have trouble with finding that file later. So the best way to do it is to import it from wherever you've saved it to. So just go to File, Import, Import Files, and then hopefully you've got it saved somewhere. I've got a little scary music track here called The House of Leaves that I've downloaded from the Kevin MacLeod's royalty-free music site. I'm going to choose that, and there it appears in my browser. So if I want to add some of that, all I have to do is click on it. And what I'm going to do is I have this story about the yurts at Algonquin Park again, and I have that walking shot that you can see in the right corner there, where the camera's low and it walks up. So I'm going to add a little music to that to make it kind of spooky. So I'm just going to find a selection here that I want to use, and just making it in and out as normal. So I'm going to start it around there because I kind of know where it starts. You can hear that, it's kind of spooky piano and bangs and stuff. Alright, that's probably enough, so I'm going to make an up point. Now, you can't just drag this down because it's a waveform, there's no video here to drag, so what you need to do is just go back to your browser window and actually drag this whole file down, and it will only bring in the part that you selected with your in and out points. So I'm going to drop that there, and it blew it out. So I'm going to undo that. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. It's a weird thing in Final Cut. But the way to avoid that is when you're dragging it down to make sure it does a different kind of edit. There's inserts and overwrite edits. And sometimes the insert edits, which is the normal kind we do by dragging it down, will push everything along. So if it's starting to do that, what you can do is click Option, and you'll see a little plus symbol sort of arrives there, and that's going to be an overwrite, so it's going to go over top without pushing anything along. So if you do Option as you drag it, then it should stay there, and that time it did. So now you notice I've got a little red bar here, and that means I need to render it, which means it needs to sort of add that audio track to the sequence properly. So the way you do that is through Sequence and Render. I always tend to do Render All just to be safe. You can just render the audio file, but I just do Render All both just because it's just as quick and it does the job. And it's usually pretty fast. So now I've added that, I can play it and hear what it sounds like with the music.
If you've ever been to Algonquin Park, you may have encountered ducks, moose, or even a bear. But have you ever come face to face with a yurt?
I think we've had yurts in the...
So there, I've added it. Kind of goes on a little too long. So what I'm going to do is drag that back a bit. And also, it's a bit abrupt. It starts and stops very abruptly because of the way we've edited this. So what you really want to do is have that fade in and fade out properly. And a couple of ways to do that. Easiest way is just to right-click on the start of your audio file. So down here, if I right-click on this, I'll get this little option to add Transition Crossfade. And I've showed you, most of you have probably seen this. And again, do the same thing at the end, add a Transition Crossfade. What that's going to do is fade it in at the beginning and fade it out at the end. If you don't have a mouse, you can Control-click and it'll do the same thing, but really use a mouse, it's a whole lot faster and easier. So let's see how that sounds now.
If you've ever been to Algonquin Park, you may have encountered ducks, moose, or even a bear. But have you ever come face to face with a yurt?
I think we've had yurts in the park
So there.
for about...
So that fades in and out nicely now, and that's the easiest way to do it. The other way to do it, and I've showed a few of you this, is by clicking on the audio track to bring up your music, and then what you do is you go down to the little pen tool down here beside the audio meters, click on that, and you can put little points on the red line. Normally this is the red line that you can drag up or down to make it quieter or louder, and if you use this little pen point to put little dots, you can then click on the arrow tool and you can drag those around. So if I drag this down, that's going to start lower and then go up. If I do it the other way, it's going to start low, start high, and then go low. So you're just adjusting that audio line very in a fine sort of way, as opposed to just doing the quick fade and quick out. So that's another way to do it. It's a bit more of a fine process, but that's another option if you want to be really picky about where you want it to go up or down, or perhaps the music gets a bit louder than it needs to be at one point. You can adjust it very specifically that way. But otherwise, you can just use the crossfade or cross on the beginning and the end. So that's basically it. If you want to do that, just keep adding it. Make sure it stays down here. You don't have to lock out these tracks if you're careful. If you're worried about it, you can lock your other audio out when you're adding the music. But if you're careful and you put it on 3 and 4, you shouldn't have any troubles.